I got uninvited from my mom's retirement party because I didn't look successful next to my sister's fiancé. Turns out, I was actually his boss. My name is Gabriel. I'm 30 years old, an industrial designer, and co-founder of a small but award-winning firm in Portland. After a hectic year of deadlines and product launches, I finally cleared a week to go home for my mom's retirement party. I figured it'd be good to show up, see the family, maybe even reset some things that had been feeling off. I called on a quiet Wednesday evening. Just wanted to let them know I'd booked the flight and would be in town a couple days early to help set up. It was my dad who picked up, which was already unusual. "Hey, Dad," I started, cheerful. "I've got good news. I booked a flight for next Friday. Figured I could come early, maybe help with the..." He cut me off. There was this pause, long enough that I thought maybe the call dropped. Then his voice came in low and sharp. "I don't think that's a good idea, Gabriel." I blinked. "Sorry. I don't think you should come." I honestly thought I'd misheard him. "You mean, not come early?" "No," he said. "I mean, don't come at all." I sat up straighter. "What are you talking about?" There was a sigh on the other end. That impatient kind of breath people take when they're tired of you but can't say it outright. "It's not personal," he said, which always means it is. "It's just, this is a big moment for your mom, and Renee's fiancé will be there." I laughed nervously. "Okay." And there was another pause. "Gabriel, you just don't look right next to him." I actually laughed out loud this time, but there was no humor in it. "Are you kidding me? He's refined. He's got a look. When people see him, they think success. When they see you," he didn't finish. I could feel the heat rising in my face and my ears. "When they see me what, Dad? They see someone who co-founded a design studio that just won 2 national awards? Someone who's financially stable? What exactly don't I look like?" He got quiet. I pushed harder. "You're really telling me not to come to my own mother's retirement party because I don't look right?" There was a pause, then the final blow. "If you still insist on coming, then don't call me your father." I stared at the wall for a few seconds after he hung up. No sound, no movement. Just this dull, thick silence in my apartment. I sat there for maybe an hour. Then I opened my banking app. Utilities. Electricity, water, gas, internet. Every single account still connected to my autopay. I scrolled through 2 years of quiet, unseen generosity, nearly $10,000 in payments I never mentioned, never asked to be repaid for. They had no idea. Or maybe they did, and just didn't care. There wasn't even a thank you. And now, after all of that, I wasn't good enough to sit next to Renee's new fiancé, the man who apparently made me look like an eyesore. The words kept playing in my head like a scratch in a record. "You don't look right next to him." That was the moment something snapped. Not loud. Not angry. Just final. I was done being invisible. That night, after the call with my dad, I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, replaying years' worth of quiet disappointments. Not just this latest one, but all the smaller moments before it, the ones I used to shrug off or excuse. Renee's birthday dinners where I was barely acknowledged. Holidays where my name wasn't even included in the family group texts. The time my dad introduced me to one of his coworkers as our son who does something with furniture or engineering, I don't know. And yet, I never stopped helping. Never once said no when they asked for money. I just kept paying the bills and showing up, hoping maybe next time they'd notice. That morning, after watching the sun rise through the blinds, I made coffee and sat down at my computer. I pulled up every utility account. Water. Canceled. Gas. Canceled. Electricity. Internet. Trash. All of it canceled. The email confirmation started rolling in, one by one. "Your automatic payment has been discontinued. Your account access has been updated." It was so simple. Too simple, honestly. I stared at the final screen, the one confirming the last cancellation, and felt something strange. Peace. Not anger. Not guilt. Just stillness. Like I had been carrying something heavy for a long time without realizing it, and now it was gone. A week passed. Nothing at first. No texts, no calls. I assumed maybe they hadn't noticed. Or maybe they thought it was a glitch. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my mom. "The internet bill is due. Can you handle it?" No greeting. No warmth. Just that, a request. I stared at it for a long time before locking my phone. No reply. 2 days later, a voicemail from my father. His voice was curt, annoyed. "Power bills not paid." What's going on? No, "Hey, how are you?" No acknowledgement of what he said to me on the phone. Just a demand. I deleted the voicemail without listening to the rest. This was new for me. Silence. Not passive-aggressive silence. Not the cold shoulder kind I was used to. Real silence. Chosen silence. I didn't owe them explanations anymore. I didn't owe them my money. And I sure as hell didn't owe them parts of myself they had no interest in keeping. There was a time when I believed that family meant loyalty. That no matter how small you felt, you still showed up. You still gave what you had. But I was done believing in that version of family. What I had learned, painfully and slowly, was that some people will take everything you offer and still see you as less. Still call you invisible. Still tell you not to come. So I stopped offering. I didn't tell them why. I didn't write some big dramatic message or leave a trail of guilt behind me. I just stopped. And for once, I let the silence speak for me. The day of my mom's retirement party, I woke up early but didn't get out of bed. The morning light crept across the floor, and I just lay there, listening to the quiet hum of the fridge in the kitchen and the occasional car passing outside my apartment in Portland. No suitcase by the door. No dress clothes hanging on the closet door. No flight to catch. No family to see. I made myself a cup of coffee and sat by the window. It had gone cold by the time the first text came in. Power's off. Can you check on the payment? I set the phone face down. 15 minutes later. We can't cook. Guests are coming. What's going on with the gas? Then, Wi-Fi's down. People are asking for the network. Where's the router box? No greeting. No apology. Not even a hint of awareness. They were reaching out, not because they missed me, but because the safety net had vanished. The one they never talked about. The one they never thanked. Now it mattered. Now I was useful, not as a son, not as a brother, but as a fixer. I watched the text pile up. A group message from my aunt. Heard there were some issues at the party. Please tell me you didn't drop the ball, Gabriel. Then a cousin. Not showing up for your mom's big day? Seriously. A different aunt chimed in. She devoted her life to you, and Renee. What you're doing is disgraceful. I scrolled through each one in silence. Every message said the same thing. I was selfish, immature, disrespectful. Funny. Not one of them asked why I wasn't there. Not one of them said, what happened? Or, are you okay? They just assumed the version of the story they were fed, that I was sulking, that I had failed some obligation, that I was letting everyone down. No one mentioned the call with my father. No one mentioned the sentence that kept echoing in my head like a bad ringtone. Don't call me your father. I knew how this worked. I'd seen it my whole life. The louder you stayed, the more attention you got. The more boundaries you set, the more backlash you earned. But I didn't reply. Not to the texts. Not to the guilt. Not to the passive-aggressive swipes from people who hadn't spoken to me in years until now. They weren't reaching out for me. They were reaching out for what I gave them. Electricity. Internet. Hot water. Quiet money. Not warmth. Not presence. Not love. And in that moment, reading text while sipping cold coffee and staring out at the traffic passing below, I realized something that hurt more than I expected. They never saw me. Not really. They saw what I could do for them. And now that I wasn't doing it, they were outraged. But beneath all that noise, I felt something solid and clear settle inside me. I wasn't going back. Let them cook in the dark. Let them explain to the guests why there was no music, no slideshow, no working oven. Let them feel, even for one day, what it was like when the invisible sun stopped showing up. I watched my phone buzz across the table and didn't move to silence it. The silence was finally mine. I didn't plan to talk to anyone that night. I figured I'd ride out the rest of the fallout in silence, maybe put on some music, clean the apartment, anything but engage. Then Mona called. Aunt Mona, my mom's younger sister, was the only one in the family who never asked for money, never threw shade, never pretended not to notice the quiet way I helped everyone else. She used an old-school video app we'd both stuck with for years. Said it felt less performative than FaceTime. The call lit up my screen around 9 p.m. I almost let it go, but something made me answer. Her face appeared, slightly blurry. She was wearing her glasses, perched on the end of her nose like always, a steaming mug in her hand. Hey, sweetheart, she said gently. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, just taking a few days to myself. She didn't push. After a few seconds, she said, I figured something happened. Your mom's been in tears since this afternoon. Your father's yelling at everyone. Renee's acting like she won prom and got robbed in the same day. I gave a half smile. That sounds about right. Mona leaned forward a little. You want to tell me what happened? I hesitated. Then I did. I told her about the call. The words my dad said. The part about not looking right next to Renee's fiancé. The part about not calling him dad anymore. I didn't dramatize it. I just said the words plainly, letting the truth hang there between us. Mona's face changed. Her eyes narrowed, her lips pressed tight. Jesus, Gabriel, she said quietly. I'm so sorry. I shrugged. He meant it. Before she could say more, there was shouting in the background, muffled, chaotic. Her screen shifted as she turned her device. Hold on, she said, standing up and walking through a hallway. The sounds got louder. You don't get to control the whole night just because your brother's sulking. That was Renee. I heard my mother sobbing. Then, on the screen, a chaotic scene appeared, a living room filled with people. Guests standing awkwardly with empty plates, others whispering behind napkins. Mona didn't mute. She didn't even try. The camera caught Renee in full makeup and her fiancé, tall, sharp-suited, standing just behind her, confused. Until his eyes landed on the screen. "Gabriel," he said, blinking. The room quieted instantly. "Hey, boss," he added. Dead silence. I watched Renee freeze. Her shoulders stiffened. Her face turned a shade paler. "What did you just say?" she asked, but her voice was barely audible. Her fiancé, Luca, stepped forward, the screen capturing more of his expression. "I didn't realize you two were related. Gabriel's my employer. He's one of the founders of the studio. We work together." Mona slowly tilted the camera toward my face again. There was a beat. Then came the whispers. "Wait, he's your boss? Gabriel's the founder? I thought he was, like, a technician or something." I said nothing. Luca looked around, visibly uncomfortable now. "Did you guys not know?" The camera stayed on me. I didn't smile. I didn't say anything clever. I just looked back at them, at the sister who had laughed about me being awkward, the father who said I didn't look right, the mother who watched it all unfold and stayed quiet. Their faces said everything. The assumptions, the dismissal, the sudden realization that the person they had tried to hide wasn't the embarrassment. He was the one they all relied on financially, emotionally, even professionally. Mona slowly turned the camera off and stared at me. "You know," she said, "that might have been the best thing I've ever seen." I finally smiled. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Me too." The next morning, my inbox held a single unread email. Subject: "I owe you an apology." From Luca Moretti. I opened it without hesitation. "Gabriel, I wanted to say I'm sorry, not for last night's chaos, but for not realizing sooner who you were to your family and what they've done to you. I had no idea you were related to Renee when I joined the firm, and honestly, she never even mentioned you. Not until last week, and even then, just as my annoying brother in Portland. What happened last night? That broke something for me. The way she and your father reacted, the things they said, and how you sat there, calm, while everyone else fell apart, it told me more than any resume or reference ever could. I'm ending the engagement. Not because you're my boss. Not because of the firm. But because of how they treated you, and how she tried to pretend you didn't exist. That's not the kind of person I want to build a life with. I hope this doesn't make things more complicated for you. If anything, I'm trying to make things right, starting with this email. Thank you for being exactly who you are. Luca." I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't believe him, but because I did. He didn't ask me for permission. He didn't try to smooth it over. He just told the truth and took responsibility. I replied with a single paragraph. "Luca, I respect your decision. Make the right choices for your own life, not because of me, but because you know what matters to you. Whatever happens next, you have my respect and no hard feelings. Gabriel." I hit send. About an hour later, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in days. Renee. I didn't answer. A minute later, a voicemail. Then a text. "Please call me. We need to talk." I waited. Another message followed. "Please talk to him. Luca listens to you. Ask him to come back." I stared at those words, and something in me uncoiled. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I just felt done. So I typed. "Luca didn't leave because of me. He left because of you. Sent." That was it. No explanation. No lecture. Just the truth, the way she and the rest of them never liked to hear it. I didn't get a reply. Instead, I imagined her sitting on her bed, phone in hand, trying to find a version of the story where none of it was her fault. But for once, I wasn't the cleanup crew. I wasn't the buffer, the fixer, the bank account with a heart. I was just a man living his life, tired of being invisible in a family that only saw what I could give them, not who I actually was. And now that they were losing the things they thought they had in their pocket, the image, the money, the favor, they finally noticed what had been missing all along. But I didn't need their realization. I already had mine. And I wasn't going back. It was a week later, a Thursday evening, when I came home from work and saw them sitting on my porch. My parents. 2 small suitcases sat at their feet. My mother had on her travel sweater, the blue one she always wore on plane rides. My father was staring straight ahead like a man waiting to be summoned into court. I stood there for a few seconds, key still in hand. Part of me wanted to turn around and walk back to the car. But I didn't. I unlocked the door. "You might as well come in," I said flatly. Inside, I didn't offer drinks. I didn't ask why they were there. We sat in the living room, and for a moment, no one spoke. Then my mother gave me a soft smile, the kind she used to give when I was a kid and got a B+ instead of an A. "We wanted to talk," she said. "I figured," I replied. My father cleared his throat. "We owe you an apology." I waited. "For how we handled things," he said. "For what I said to you. At the time, I didn't think." "You did think," I interrupted. "You just didn't expect consequences." He shifted uncomfortably. "We weren't trying to hurt you," my mother added quickly. "We just lost perspective. That party got bigger than we planned, and with Renee's engagement." "Stop," I said, holding up a hand. Don't make this about Renee. They went quiet again. Then my mom reached into her bag and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. We're in a tight spot, she said. The bills have stacked up. Your father's pension hasn't come through this quarter and... I raised an eyebrow. Is this a request? She hesitated, then nodded. We're asking for help, my dad said, his voice tight. $2,000 a month. Just until we're back on our feet. $2,000. As if it were nothing. As if I hadn't already floated them quietly for years. I leaned back in my chair. What's Renee contributing? They both blinked. What? My mother asked. If you need $2,000, I said calmly, then that means you're short $4,000 total. So I'm guessing Renee's putting in half. They looked at each other. Well, she's had a lot going on, my dad said. Her fiancé left her. She's been devastated, my mom added. I nodded slowly. So, nothing. More silence. I stood up, walked to my desk, and pulled out a folder of my own. Here's my offer, I said, setting it on the table. If I'm going to be your sole provider, I want equity. Specifically, I want the house. Not now, later. I'll draft a legal agreement. You'll sign it. Everything I give moving forward is considered an investment. My dad's face twisted instantly. You're putting conditions on your parents? You're asking your son for $2,000 a month, I said calmly. That's not parenting. That's business. My mom looked like she wanted to cry. Gabriel, how can you say that? How could you say I don't belong in my own family? I shot back. How could you let me pay your bills in silence and still talk about me like I was something to be hidden? My father stood up. You think money makes you better than us? No, I said. I think it makes me the only one who ever paid attention. He stepped forward, shoulders tense. Don't, I said simply. He stopped. Take your bags, I added. You're not staying here. If you want to think about the offer, fine. But don't come back unless you're ready to treat me like a human being, not an ATM. They stared at me. Then, without another word, they picked up their bags and walked out. I didn't watch them leave. I just sat back down, opened a window, and breathed in the quiet. For the first time, the house finally felt like mine. It's been 2 years. No birthday cards. No holiday texts. Not even the generic, Happy New Year message that used to show up with a winking emoji and no punctuation. Just silence. And I'm okay with that. My name hasn't been part of any group threads, family dinners, or whispered updates relayed through cousins. I'm not mentioned in social media posts. I vanished from the family orbit. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I can breathe. The house is quiet, but it's a good kind of quiet. My studio's thriving. We picked up 2 more national clients last fall. Hired 2 new designers this spring. Sometimes I forget I ever thought I wasn't enough. Some mornings I still wake up and check my phone expecting a crisis. A long text from Renee. A voicemail from mom. Some ridiculous financial emergency disguised as a guilt trip. But there's nothing. And that nothing? It's peace. I don't play the invisible support beam anymore. I don't wire money to people who act like my presence embarrasses them. I don't show up at celebrations I was never welcome at. And I don't pretend we're a family when the only thing holding us together was my silence and their convenience. I stopped explaining myself to people who never cared to ask in the first place. Sometimes, when I'm walking to work or out grabbing coffee, I think back to the night Luca called me boss in front of the entire family. That moment, the way the room fell silent, the way Renee's face collapsed in on itself, that's when I knew I'd spent my whole life being miscast. They didn't reject me because they didn't know me. They rejected me because they only saw what they wanted to see. And when the truth showed up in a press suit and called me boss, their version of me shattered. I haven't spoken to Luca since the email. Last I heard, he moved back to San Diego. He sent one final message a few months after the breakup. Thank you for showing me what character really looks like. That was it. I kept it. I never got a single word from Renee. She didn't call. Didn't try to spin it. Didn't rage text me like she used to when things didn't go her way. She just disappeared. I assumed she thought silence was power. But it was liberation. As for my parents, they never accepted the house offer. Never came back with a counter. Never called. The suitcases never showed up again. I don't know where they ended up. I don't ask. Every so often I wonder what I'd do if they reached out again. If my dad sent a single-line email. If my mom wrote me a real letter, not one of those carefully crafted apologies that says everything but sorry. But I don't dwell on it. I don't need closure. Because I already closed the door. And on the days where the old ache tries to sneak back in, the maybe I should have tried harder, the what if I just said yes one more time, I remind myself of the truth. They had every chance. And they chose to treat me like a placeholder. I protected them for years. But I wasn't protecting myself. Until now. So I keep living. I design things that matter. I spend time with people who don't need to be convinced of my worth. I send gifts to friends' kids and write birthday cards I used to forget. I take up space in my own life. And sometimes, just sometimes, I think about all the people out there still waiting to be seen by the ones who should have loved them first. That's why I'm sharing this. Because if you're reading this, wondering if you're wrong for walking away, for drawing a line, for finally protecting yourself. I'll leave you with what I asked myself 2 years ago. Was I wrong to stop answering? Or was I finally right to protect the one thing I had left, myself?